Leeds nil, Chelsea nil, but as goalless draws go, Janusz Michallik, that was very watchable.
It was to begin with, although somewhat disappointing, I thought, Mark, in terms of Chelsea, maybe the setup, so many token points, of course, the constant rotation, maybe Chelsea looking forward to another physical encounter next week against Atleti as well. So it's never easy to play Leeds, of course, especially under pitch, Mark. But Chelsea paid the price. 2 games more as it stands right now, with teams like West Ham, Spurs, and behind them as well. So yeah, I mean, kind of you want to say paper tiger in terms of Chelsea's performance.
Okay, they've made over 30 changes in league games since Tuchel took over. I think he's got it pretty much set at the back. Even although he makes changes there, you've still got your spine as Piliqueta, the goalkeeper Mendy. However, there's an issue middle to front, isn't there? Because he tried something else today with Havertz there and Pulisic on one side, Ziyech in the middle, and obviously on the left-hand side, he tried something else. He's not really found what he's looking for, has he yet?
No, he came, mid-season, of course, if you will. So I think he knows that there's truly no identifiable goal scorer on this team right now, and he keeps on changing. He keeps looking for solutions. I think he'll address that in the offseason, because he's gonna have to, Mark. You look at this Chelsea team that today, in my opinion, was lacking physicality. Right? I mean, you go into Leeds with a men, when they men mark you a bit, you have a bad pitch, you have a physical team, and in you throw in players like Pulisic, players like Ziyech, even Mason Mount to some degree, and a couple of others, and they were unsettled today, that is for sure. So he's been able to keep players on side. The results are very, very good. I mean, 12 unbeaten on competitions, what is that, 8 wins, 4 draws, 10 clean sheets. So there are a lot of positives, that is for sure, for Chelsea. But, he's tinkering a little bit, and that's not easy during the season where so much is at stake.
But when you tinker to try and find a formula middle to front that's going to get you goals, it's a lot easier to do so when you know you've got pretty rigid at the back, because the record at not conceding has been outstanding. We'll talk more about Chelsea in a minute, but Leeds United, no goals. It's not a bad point for them against a tough side, but Patrick Bamford's injury, all eyes now on how he is, and hopefully it's not too serious, because he's their talisman in attack.
Yeah, as I've said, I mean, it's easy for us to talk about Chelsea, because that's the story when it comes to Champions League and everything else. But I thought Leeds, of course, I thought they had a pretty good game. As I've mentioned, they've unsettled Chelsea. Patrick Bamford was a big loss, but when I look at the game as a whole, Chelsea didn't create much, whereas Leeds, I think, even though they didn't have the possession that you think they might have, I mean, had the chances. I mean, Edouard Mendy was outstanding. If you remember Tyler Roberts in the first half, I mean, just a touch on that ball. I think Rafinha with that little turn in the second half, that was an incredible save. So you can make a case that Leeds were more dangerous in terms of clear chances, if you will. I don't think there are many very, clear chances there. So a lot of credit to Leeds, because they came up against a formidable foe, and there's history between the two sides for sure.
Who's more important to Leeds, Patrick Bamford or Rafinha?
Oh, of course, Patrick Bamford. And as we've said, especially when you play against a team like Chelsea, when you have to play on the counter as well, he's the focal point of that team. He's very good on the counter as well. He can hold that play. It's not even close, although, again, comparing the two, it's somewhat unfair in terms of the positions that they play.
We saw Rodrigo come on, and people would say, well, he's maybe the ideal choice to replace Bamford next week if Bamford's unavailable. But then Rodrigo got taken off. Is it Bamford or bust for Leeds middle to front in attack? Because Rafinha's brilliant. He's a genius, but he plays on the right-hand side. They need that focal point. Is that Rodrigo? We've seen him. We've commentated on him, you and I, for Spain, but not for Leeds.
Yeah, he could be, but let's be honest here. At this stage, Leeds are what they are. This is a very, very successful season so far. You're not going to see him go up much. You're not going to see them go down much in the standings right now. So I think it should be Rodrigo. Obviously, he probably wasn't happy in terms of being taken off. That's unusual to see from Marcelo Bielsa to be this pragmatic, right, to bring the Polish international. But of course, at the end of the game, he saw what was coming. He wanted to get something out of this game against Chelsea. You want to make sure that there's a point. So bringing in Mateusz Klich wasn't a surprise. But Rodrigo, obviously, probably unhappy. I'm not sure if he understands it, but point is a point. So I get the substitution.
Good season for Leeds. Good point. Let's end with Chelsea. Look ahead to the Champions League. You mentioned that game was pretty watchable for the first hour, 75 minutes, and then it just died off a little bit for Chelsea, and they lacked impetus in front of goal. They don't really need goals against Atletico Madrid. They need to base it all about defence. Do you see them going through after that first leg result?
I can. Obviously it's an important encounter, and that's why I think we saw what we saw in terms of the lineup with Reece James, Hudson-Odoi, perhaps a couple other players like Kovacic not starting as well. Christian Pulisic came in, but as I've said, probably not in the system that suits him well. I think we understand the pecking order in this Chelsea team for the most part. Say 9-10 players for sure. I think we understand the system that was slightly changed, that hybrid that we talked about. When we see Atleti, I think you're going to see the physical team that we expect them to see in terms of wing backs. Marcos Alonso, of course, today not starting as well. So I think, it was not easy to juggle these two very, very physical opponents. And yeah, Chelsea are in a very good position because Atleti are not the same Atleti, that's for sure, that we remember last year, right? Ever since the festive season, I think they've dropped off a little bit, although look good against Real Madrid for long periods of time in the derby this past weekend. So Chelsea are in a great position. I mean, it doesn't get much better, right? I mean, an away goal and still a very formidable squad in terms of Chelsea and the choices that they have.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.